So, recently, Chainsaw Man Reze Arc has finally been released by Toho, Crunchyroll, and Sony Pictures. And I have to say, this movie was a blast. So, Chainsaw Man has been a property in which I've been familiar with for, I would say, a long time now. I remember reading Chainsaw Man during high school. I was really obsessed with Chainsaw Man Part 1. I remember reading like the second half of Part 1 like all in one day just because of how hooked I was with the manga. It was just so intoxicating, and it was like just both dark, dumb, and at the same time very emotionally tense and heavy. It was a manga that had a lot to say about human fragility, about, teenagers just kind of trying to find their own way and their own path, especially a character like Denji who undergoes a lot of emotional trauma throughout the series. And it just shows a lot about kind of learning the ropes about life and just how to navigate life as a young individual who's been through a lot of emotional trauma and hasn't recognized that he's been through a lot of emotional trauma. I also really appreciated that the manga itself wasn't like the other shonen mangas, where it feels like a very obvious recycled formula. If anything, Part 1 had so many unexpected moments that just made me more hooked to just keep on reading. And despite the issues that I have with Part 2, at least at the time when I was reading it, I haven't touched Part 2 in like almost 2 years, so I might be wrong. It might have maybe gotten a lot better. I've been hearing some good stuff about Part 2. I genuinely think that Chainsaw Man as a manga was just really good. It was very well developed, especially its narrative, as I was saying. It also had some great action and just art style in general. It was just very experimental and just really just fantastic to read. So seeing that Chainsaw Man, aside of the anime adaptation that it got a couple of years back, and seeing how successful that was, thanks to MAPPA's way of knowing and understanding the source material and knowing how to properly adapt these very beloved IPs, it was just destined to get a movie or to get something even bigger than what it was currently. And it seems that Fujimoto really hit gold with MAPPA because they somehow managed to get a deal with Sony Pictures Worldwide to distribute this film alongside Toho and Crunchyroll, which is just something insane. Like all these three distribution companies teaming up together to distribute one film. We saw the absolute madness that Demon Slayer was a couple of months ago, just how well that performed worldwide in the box office. If not mistaken, accumulating $600 million worldwide. And it's seen that Chainsaw Man, the movie, has been accumulating almost $100 million worldwide with, I believe, a $50 million budget, if not a little bit less, which is still insane for an opening week. So let's get into the actual movie. I think that Chainsaw Man The Reze Arc as a film works in so many incredible ways. For starters, this movie has just phenomenal pacing, like just from beginning to end. There's always so many elements going on in the visual department. The animation looks stunning. And humorous bits, we kind of see a much more goofy side. In the action-intensive bits, we see some explosive, almost like acid-like elements and visual stuff going on. I mean, there is a lot of impact frames within the battles that just look absolutely insane. Also, depending on the character's abilities and powers and stuff, it just looks absolutely incredible, and at times almost feels like a Dragon Ball Z episode with the incredible animation thanks to MAPPA. I also think that the very emotional moments in this film, in which you see Denji and Reze kind of interacting with each other and just basically becoming much more vulnerable as they speak to each other, are just absolutely stunning to look at. The animation just looks very visceral in the scenes where they are swimming in the pool or whenever they're just talking to each other. You can see so much with their expressions in their eyes. This film makes part of the messaging and the symbolism very apparent with the facial gestures of these characters, especially the way Denji looks at people, the way he's kind of like scanning these people to see if they're their ally or their enemy, or just to see what's going on. Reze, whenever she gets pissed off or more emotionally vulnerable, the way her eyes twitch, or the way her eyes work, the way she reacts to Denji, and just like the way he speaks and stuff. There's just so many things going around with these two characters. And I generally think that, again, those very emotionally vulnerable scenes are just beautiful. Also, thanks to the incredible score composed by Kensuke Ushio. I think these moments are very visceral, absolutely beautiful, and I think the OST works in a lot of great ways because aside of these very emotional, tense moments, we also get these explosive moments in terms of the action where it feels like I'm listening to like the Devil May Cry soundtrack with the glitchy techno beats, at times some breakcore thrown in there, the acid like instrumentation, almost like jungle type. There's so many things going around with the instrumentals throughout this film. And what I loved was like they didn't feel cheap. They feel layered. They feel very appropriate for the scenes. There was never once a scene where I felt that the music was inappropriate or felt a little bit out there. It just felt like it was glued in, like it served a purpose. It wasn't just there for just background stuff. It was there to really interact with the scene itself. I know I've rambled on about the visual department, the audio, and just the incredible fight scenes and stuff, but I also want to talk about just how well the narrative is. I know that I mentioned that it explores very well about Denji's fragility, and as well as Rise's kind of purpose and the reason why she is interacting with Denji as well, which I obviously will not spoil. I also think the movie did a great job in adapting other side characters in the mix. I think Aki's and Angel's arc were very well established. Since the movie is both tackling Denji's and Rize's arc, as well as, you know, Aki's and Angel's arc, it does a good job of just tackling both arcs at the same time. We kind of see Aki trying to develop a relationship with Angel since he has to work with him, as well as exploring these themes of death and time, since apparently Aki doesn't have that much time left to live in his lifespan, and Angel craving death mainly because he doesn't feel like he has that much purpose serving the world. Kind of both of them finding their own ways and what to do within the time frame that they are in their lifespans, which makes for some very compelling moments, as well as just how they're used in the action scenes, which I think is pretty cool, even though Angel, I believe, is a little bit more underdeveloped in the action part, and I wish I could see more bits with him interacting with the crew in terms of the action scenes. Also, the movie never felt like it overstayed its welcome. As I was saying, it has some great pacing, and just at only 1 hour and 40 minutes, this movie feels even a bit longer, but it just feels even more entertaining as time goes on with the film. It just kept on getting better and better and better, and I just got more excited to see what the hell was going to happen. Like, even me, having read the Reze Arc, I still was a little bit like, I still kind of forgot some parts in the Reze Arc, so kind of seeing this film made me like refresh my memory, and also just become much more hyped since I didn't remember every single detail. And again, as it went on, just got even better and better. I also want to give props to the voice acting. I watched this movie in sub. I just personally prefer the Japanese voice acting over the dub, and wow, it was just borderline incredible the way they delivered. I think Reze hands down had the best delivery in this film. I think Reina Ueda did a phenomenal job voicing Reze. Her voice felt calm, soothing, to then feeling just out of control and just like a madman almost at times. I think there's a lot of emotional infliction within it, and I think that she's just frankly the star of this film next to Denji. The film is obviously centered around her and her arc, but I feel that her performance within itself is just so incredible, to the point that it's like, yeah, this is definitely her movie. She doesn't feel like a secondary character. She feels like the main attraction. But yeah, I genuinely just had a blast watching this film. Again, it's explosive, fun, exhilarating, entertaining from beginning to end. It's probably the best anime film I've seen in years. Generally, I mean, like probably the best ones I've seen since Mugen Train, which I really enjoyed. I think this film is probably better than Mugen Train, honestly. I think the narrative is just jam-packed with a lot of bits and symbolisms throughout the film. And I feel that the best way to enjoy this film is just to go in blind. Like, despite me having read the arc, I forgot some details about it, so that kind of almost made me feel like a first-time viewer at times. So yeah, just go in here blind. I'm being very vague in terms of some of the details because I kind of want people to enjoy it for the first time ever, especially if they aren't familiar with the manga property. So yeah, just go watch it. Have a ton of fun. It's colorful, entertaining, as I said, and you're just going to keep your eyes peeled to the screen 24/7 just because of how addictive this film is. I already want to, like, talking about it makes me want to see this film again. That's how good it is. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. What you guys think of this film? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, turn notification bell on so you miss an upload from me. And yeah, peace out, guys. See you next time, and watch Chainsaw Man: The Reze Arc.